Mic check. Yep. Call the judge and get some fudge! What is going on, everyone? Giles from Fitment Industries F5 Garage. What is going on, everyone? Giles from Fitment Industries F5 Garage, and welcome back to another episode of What Wheels Fit. And today we're going to be taking a look at something that hits a little close to home for me, you know? We're going to be taking a look at What Wheels Fit, the second generation of the Mitsubishi Eclipse. Now, before we go ahead and get into it, don't forget to subscribe, wheels, tires, and suspension, all that sort of good stuff, available at fitmentindustries.com. So, the 2G Eclipse, the DSM, the thick bubble butt Japanese car from the 90s that stole all of our hearts, well, at least mine. Anyway, all the types of fitment and wheel and tire sizes that we are about to go over were grabbed from the Fitment gallery over at fitmentindustries.com, which is a fantastic tool when looking for any type of this info for pretty much any vehicle that you could imagine. That being said, we have the guaranteed fitment range, which is gathered from the data over at fitmentindustries.com. That range gives us a diameter of 16 to 20 inches in diameter, widths ranging from 6 to 9, and offsets having a pretty tight range from plus 35 to plus 40 for the most part. So if you have something in mind that falls within that range, you're gonna be sitting pretty good without having much to worry about. So that being said, from our gallery, we see that 17 and 18 inch diameters are the most common setups on these cars, with widths for the most part hanging around 9 to 9.5 inches, which is pretty standard for a JDM car, especially from that time period. So let's go over a few examples to give a quick look into what different setups look like. So first up, we have a 99 Mitsubishi Eclipse on some Enkei RPF1 wheels. A solid choice for this car with a size of 17 by 9.5 with a plus 22 offset. Now with this, they're able to run a 235/55 tire while sitting on some lowering springs. Now another example of a 17 inch setup would be this 98 Eclipse with some 17 by 9.5 plus 38. So a little bit of a higher offset wheel with some raised engineering wheels with a 225/45 tire, again on some lowering springs. A quick note on this setup, however, it is listed that the fender liners have been modified or removed a little bit to help with some clearance issues. Now, another example would be a 97 Eclipse with some 17 by 9s with a little bit lower offset of a plus 20 to make up for that half inch that we dropped off of the width. MSC MT-07 wheels with a 225/40 tire on some coil-over suspension is what's going to make this setup look the way it does. Now, this is able to be ran without having to modify or remove any fender liners, and it still has no rubbing issues. We also see an example of someone rocking some Enkei wheels from an Evo. With that being said, those sizes of those wheels are 17 by 8 plus 38 with a 235/45 tire on some Tane coilovers. Now this is actually a pretty common setup with these cars, to snag these wheels off of the older Evos and throw them on because they can be picked up for pretty cheap because people are just looking to get rid of them, and they fit really, really nice. So maybe 17s really aren't your thing. Maybe you want to run 18s. Well, no worries, we got you covered there too, bud. Again, we see the RPF ones coming in strong because, you know, RPF ones, they look, you know, they look good on everything. So here we have them in an 18 by 9 plus 35 offset, running a 225/40 tire on some BC Racing coilovers. This is personally one of my favorite Eclipses in the gallery because with this setup, it looks very clean and it doesn't need any spacers or fender modification or anything like that. It's a solid setup and another great example. Now, if we want a little bit of an oddball one, this will be that example here. Now, because it is the size of the wheel, however, these wheels are very popular on these cars, so don't get me wrong that this is, you know, something weird and shouldn't be mentioned, because it is worth mentioning. It's actually one of the most popular wheels run on the second gen Eclipses, and that would be the XXR 527. Now XXR did this weird thing and offered these wheels in a 9 3/4 inch width. Why? Well, I have no idea. So here we have an 18 by 9 3/4 plus 20 offset setup on some 225/40 tires and sitting on some Tane coilovers. With this setup, they do have listed that the fenders have been rolled and pulled to get some clearance, but still end up having a little bit of rub at full turn. But these wheels, like I said, are so popular on these cars. If you want to go up from there, however, maybe run a 10 inch wheel, we have an example of that as well. Again, we see the XXR wheels. We have an 18 by 10 plus 25 XXR 521 on some 225/40 tires on some coilovers as well. This offers a pretty aggressive setup, and that actually looks really, really good. Now, as you can imagine, fenders will need to be rolled and pulled to the very minimum. And there is some slight rub at full turn with this setup. But you know, it's just the price you gotta pay if you wanna run 10 wides on your second gen Eclipse. So with all that being said, overall, if you're looking for some wheels for your second gen Eclipse, something around a 17x9 plus 22 or an 18x9.5 plus 35 or down to a plus 22 are going to work pretty decent for you, and it's actually the most common that we see over in our gallery. However, we are looking for something a little different outside of what we mentioned here today. Stop over to the gallery, fitmentindustries.com, and check out the other Eclipses and Talons that we have over there to find the right setup that is going to work for you. That's what it's there for, you know? So that's gonna wrap it up for today on this episode of What Wheels Fit. Go ahead and drop down in the comments below what vehicle you would like to see us cover next. Don't forget to subscribe. Wheels, tires, suspension, all that stuff. Fitmentindustries.com. If you have a second gen Eclipse and haven't added to the gallery yet, link below. We'd love to see it. I'd love to see it. I'm Gels. We'll see you later. Peace.